Hi, my name's Elisabeth Verstraete, and I'm a videographer, editor, and multimedia producer from Ghent in Belgium. I've created a new YouTube channel called The Rider Project, where I'm documenting stories of people through the motorcycles they ride.
Welcome to the Real Riders Podcast. My name's Simon Josie, and this is a podcast about motorcycling and filmmaking. If this is your first time here, welcome and thanks for listening. As a listener, you might wonder how I find guests for the podcast. Actually, there are several ways I do that, and I guess the most obvious way is discovery via YouTube. I also get connected to a lot of new guests via previous guests, and I receive suggestions and recommendations from listeners as well. Regular listeners will know that friend of the pod, and now friend in real life, Diana, aka Dutch Minion and her bike, has not only made many recommendations, but also facilitated a number of those recommendations becoming actual guests. I should also mention that filmmakers approach me directly and inquire whether they might be a good fit for the podcast too. As you heard, my guest for this episode is Elisabeth Verstraete, and it was actually through Instagram that I first became aware of Elisabeth. That must have been earlier this year. I was immediately struck by the quality of her work, which has a very distinctive colour tone. When she launched her new YouTube channel, The Rider Project, this summer, I knew it was time to reach out and see if she was interested in being interviewed. You'll hear that interview shortly. A quick update on the Adventure Motorcycle Film Festival 2027. We've already sold a third of the tickets since they went on sale at the beginning of this month. Tickets can be found via our website, www.advmotofilmfest.com, or by going directly to the venue's website, www.breweryarts.co.uk. Yes, I put the links to both in the show notes. Don't forget there are two separate events, both ticketed separately. The main event is the film festival, of course, on Saturday the 27th of February. And the evening before, on Friday the 26th of February, we're holding the Trailhead Social featuring, and I quote from the promotional material, great beer, pizza, conversation, and a fantastic atmosphere as riders, exhibitors, partners, and festival goers come together ahead of the main festival. Film submissions for the festival are currently open, with the early bird deadline being the 27th of August, and the regular deadline being the 30th of October. Go to www.advmotofilmfest.com for instructions on how to submit your film or films. You might also consider giving the festival a follow on Instagram. The link is in the show notes. Okay, some quick reminders. The Real Riders Podcast is on Instagram, where you'll find, amongst other things, trailers for each new episode. And if you want to know what I've been watching recently, I occasionally post about that on Blue Sky. Links to both the Instagram and Blue Sky accounts are in the show notes. Finally, if you want to help keep the servers running, pumping out the episodes, you can support the podcast via Buy Me Coffee donations. I have a few operational costs associated with hosting and remote recording infrastructure, and any donations go towards paying for those. The link is in the show notes and also in my link tree, which you can find in my Instagram, Blue Sky, and YouTube account profiles. Righto, let's get to my talk with Elisabeth. Hi, Elisabeth. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being my guest today. How are you?
Hey, thank you for inviting me. I'm very good. How about you?
Yes, very good. And this is where I might normally talk about the weather, which is a very Anglo-Saxon thing to do, to talk about the weather in small talk, but I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
I'm going to establish that it's very hot. It's hot where you are. It's hot where I am.
Yeah.
And that's all we need to talk about, the weather. And so I'm just going to push on with my first question.
Perfect.
So I usually start off these conversations in one of two ways. I either ask my guest usually about their motorcycling history or their filmmaking history.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get to both those questions soon enough. But I thought to start, I would ask you whether you think it's necessary to be a motorcyclist in order to make films about motorcycling or any topic associated with motorcycling culture.
Well, I'm gonna talk about myself, and I'm not gonna judge anyone else, but I do think it's important that you're a motorcyclist yourself when making content about motorcycles, because most of the time people talk very passionately. They talk about the engine, they talk about like the culture. And I think if you're in it as well, you can like understand their point of view better. For me personally, I think it's a bit weird, without judging anyone, of course, if you don't ride yourself and you make a lot of motorcycle content.
I recently was asked a question about filmmaking and motorcycling, and I I felt that the perfect motorcycle movie is yet to be made.
Yeah.
And that's because my own experience of motorcycling, I've never really felt that fully captured on film.
Mm-hmm.
There are films that get close to it, but nothing that really completely resonates with me, my experience of motorcycling. And I'm starting to wonder whether that is ever going to be possible. And I wondered, have you ever thought about that? Like, is there a film out there where you go, yes, that's exactly my experience of motorcycling? Or can you envisage what that film could be if you haven't seen that film?
The thing is, I try to avoid I try to avoid movies about motorcycles, because the ones that I've seen, that I can't recall the names, but the ones that I've seen, I think are very cringe. Either it's like overly exaggerated, like Brotherhood, or it's like a movie about racing, and it's also, I mean, it's never right, like you said. And sometimes I think like, oh, I wish someone that rides would make a movie. Like in my career, I don't think right now that I'm gonna be making movies, but who knows in the future. But yeah, I think it's a shame. That's why whenever a new motorcycle movie is coming out, I just don't watch it, because I'm always pretty sure that it's not good. And then I look at the reviews and then I know like, yeah, no, it's not a real, like the real experience of owning a motorcycle.
Yeah, I think for me it's a like a quest that will continue, and I suspect I will never reach the top of that mountain, if that's the way to describe it.
Well, honestly, if you, because I think you do watch a lot of motorcycle movies, if you find a good one, please let me know so I can watch it.
Of course, and it of course it will be a personal opinion. I'll say, hey, Elisabeth, this film, comes close to what my experience of motorcycling is,
Yeah.
and explain why, and yeah, let's see what happens in the future.
Yeah.
When I started preparing for this interview, I did my usual internet stalking, or research as some people call it, and from your LinkedIn profile, I can see that you've done a lot in both audio and video production. I know you picked up the guitar at age 9, and you actually started producing music at the age of 12.
Yes.
When did you develop an interest in the visual arts, video and film?
Hmm. So, yeah. So, like you said, I started when I was 12, but it was like very focused on music. But like during my whole life, I've always been interested in doing creative stuff. Now, if it's music or pictures or drawing, anything creatively, I really like, and I really liked when I was young. But the visual parts started coming, I think, not so long ago, but like, because like when I was working hard in my musical career, I had to do a lot of videos and pictures as well, because like, social media, you have to stay relevant. And so as an independent artist, you have to make your own footage. And that's when I really started liking it as well. And I think 4 years ago, I started realizing that people really liked my footage and what I was doing. And I started to see more and more potential in myself to work more in the filming industry. So yeah, I think it's gonna be 4 years ago. And if I'm honest, like really my videographer career, like full on, is only like maybe less than 2 years ago. But I was very dedicated because I did some great stuff, but I knew I could do better, and I still think I can do better. But I did a lot of research. I studied on my own, even though I hate studying. I studied 4 or 5 hours a day during 7 or 8 months. So I was very dedicated. And I think that's why I was able to do, like, for instance, one of my passion project, the Rider project, at such a quality. Like, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I do think that the quality of what I do is great. Um, and I think it's just because I've been very dedicated and, like I said, studying 4, 5, 6 hours a day brought me there.
Mm. You say there's still room for improvement. In what areas do you feel you see that potential for improvement in what you're doing with film and video?
I'm doing a lot of videos. Like I film events, I do branded content, I do documentary style cinematography. And I realized that I really, really love documentary. So I would love to grow in there and work on big documentaries, because for me, what's most important on the camera is that it's real, and it's real people talking, and it's real emotions, and it's just humans talking about their emotions, and it's pure. And for me, that's so important. And that's also why I started the Rider project, because of the realness of people and their emotions.
I know that there are different sort of styles of documentary making. Is there a particular style or styles that you're interested in pursuing, or examples of the kind of documentaries that you'd like to make?
The thing is, I'm a big animal lover, and I've watched a lot of animal documentaries, but I do think that I would love to focus on documentaries about people, and more maybe in like the athletes and the motorcycle industry, and I don't know, just interesting people. I think that's something that inspires me a lot. So I would love to focus more on that part.
Is it like people's motivations for why they do what they do, or maybe if people have gone through a big change in their life? Is that the kind of thing that you're interested in?
Yeah, the thing, I've always been drawn to passionate people, even if I'm talking about friends or boyfriends or whatever. Someone that is passionate, like, it's for me in the top 5 of most important things in a human being, is that you're passionate. And so whenever I hear or see people talking passionately about something, or indeed, like you say, if they have a change or goals or whatever, that's something that I'm drawn to a lot.
And would you say that that's abundant in the motorcycling community, or the motorcycling community that you're familiar with?
I wouldn't say abundant, because like the motorcycle industry and motorcycle culture, what I like is that it's very different. People are different. And the one thing that connects us all is the love for motorcycles. But for me, I don't think that it automatically means that you're passionate. Like, for instance, I have a lot of friends that ride, and like, I'm not saying they're not passionate, but I don't feel like they are passionate about something. And then I have other people that I know that really build motorcycles for like races or world records, or and for me, that's like, whoa, that's so passionate,
Just thinking that, you started music quite early, and maybe this reflects a little bit on my own experience, but have you been able to hold on to your passion for music, or has that changed over time?
Unfortunately, it has changed, and it's because of social media. Like I said in the beginning, is like if you're an independent artist, you have to do everything by yourself. Like I've had managers in my career and I've had booking agencies, but not most of the time. Most of the time it was just on my own. And like, the pressure of having to post 3 times a week, hoping you will get big on social media, hoping that your music is gonna get big. I think I really burnt out, and I do think I fell out of love with music, which was very weird because that happened like last year, by the end of last year in October. In September, I was almost 1 month in LA for music. And then I came back and I was like, I'm done with it. I don't know. It was like just a click in my head. And for me, it was very scary because music was all that I knew, really, that I was very passionate about. I mean, I've been making music since I was 12. So, I was doing it almost every day. And so I was like, whoa, it's as if I'm losing a part of myself or a part of my personality. And I'm gonna lose a lot of friends in the music industry. And it was mentally very challenging. But I have a family that supports me a lot. I could hold on to that. And after months of thinking, I was like, yeah, no, I like even now, I still don't miss it. And if I don't miss something, I know that for me it's done.
Would you say then you've come to a point of acceptance of that passion having receded, and now the filming is you're much more passionate about the filming now?
Yeah, yeah. It was a long couple of months, but I did accept it. And also a big part of my realization is like I'm getting older. I want to buy a house. I want to build a bigger career. I want to do stuff. I want, honestly, I've always said it to my parents. I want a garage with 20 motorcycles. So I can't do that with like royalties of music, like a couple of thousands every 6 months. So that was also a big point for me for like, yeah, no, but I'm not making enough money. Like I have to be real and realize, and I'm mature. So just, if it's not working, it's not working, and that's okay. You tried it. And I did a lot of nice stuff. I got to work with big artists. I got to play across Europe. I had an amazing 10-ish, 15-ish years. But I think it was time to accept that it was not gonna work anymore.
Okay, so I'm going to come back and ask you about what 20 motorcycles you're going to put in that garage, but I want to talk now about the Rider project,
Yeah.
which is obviously a relatively new thing. So, can you just explain what it is and how you came up with the format for the Rider project?
So the Rider Project is like how I describe it, a mini documentary short format where I interview people with their bike, but it's actually more about the person behind the bike than the bike itself. I wanted to challenge myself to keep the videos around 2 minutes and 30 seconds because let's be real, if you see a stranger on YouTube or whatever, and you see the video is like 20 minutes long, I'm not sure I want to watch someone talk 20 minutes about their bikes. So I was like, let's keep it short. Let's make it a challenge because when I'm interviewing the person, most of the time the interview is like 20 minutes long. So from the 20 minutes, I have to make it 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And how I started it is I've also noticed in my musical career, I know it's work, but you also have to do something that you like to do just to have fun. Don't think about career or pressure or money or whatever. Just do something that you like. And because I was very into videography, I was talking to a friend of mine who is also a videographer. And I was like, yeah, I really want to do something like for myself with people and bikes. And then we started ping ponging ideas. And then he was like, oh, Humans of New York. I was like, of course, like Humans of New York is on Facebook, is a guy that takes pictures of people and they tell a whole story. And it became so popular. And I was like, oh yeah, that's an amazing idea. He was like, yeah, do something like this, but with bikes. I was like, this is amazing. And so I've been working on it since last year in October. And I think the first episode came somewhere in June this year. So like it's not something that came overnight. I mean, I've been busy with it for a while, and like I do everything on my own, so it takes a lot of time, like weekly, because I do weekly episodes. But it's really something that I just really love and have fun. And like I said, I call it really my passion project.
So those 20-minute interviews, that's with the tape rolling, I assume. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So how much time do you spend with the subject of each film? How much time do you spend with them before you start recording?
It depends. If I see that the person is not comfortable, I talk with them a bit more. Like, for instance, sometimes I take 10 minutes talking with them. Sometimes it's 40 minutes. I mean, it's still a human being that is not used to cameras being in their face. So for me, it's important that the person is fully themselves on camera. So for me, it's very important that before I start filming, that they feel good and that they feel comfortable. So yeah, it depends. It really depends.
And do you have a standard set of questions, or do you tailor your questions for each guest specifically?
Oh yeah, no. So I do ask the same 5 questions for everyone. And then of course, if they tell a story or they say something that I find really interesting, I'm gonna ask about that as well. But it's always the same 5 questions. That's for me as well, like it's easier to edit, but it's also really nice because it's like always the same vibe. It's like the same 5 questions. They never know the questions beforehand because I've had guests. They're like, oh, what are the questions gonna be? I'm like, no, I'm not telling you beforehand because you have to be genuine. And they're like, yeah, but if I have to think 10 minutes, I'm like, then you think 10 minutes, it's fine. I keep rolling. There's no pressure. That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So that's interesting because, I mean, of course, I do the same thing. There's no way I'm going to tell you what my questions are. Well, there's
No.
one question I always, for your homework, but apart from that, I never tell my guests my questions because I want that genuine reaction. But here's here's my observation. I feel I think there've been 5 episodes so far, at least as we record this.
Yeah.
The responses that you've got from those 5 questions, or the bits that you've selected from those 5 answers, have been quite different because, sure, you're following a certain format.
Yeah.
But each interview's got they've got quite a different tone to each interview based on those responses. So, I'm almost surprised that you're asking those same 5 questions.
Yeah, but that's also the beautiful part. I really wanted to ask the same 5 questions because I know that everyone is different. So everyone is going to interpret the question differently. I mean, sometimes I do get like there's one answer that I get almost every time, because I've recorded obviously more than 5 episodes right now. There's like one question I'm like, yo, you're like the 10th person to answer that, you know. But for the rest, like everyone is different, and that's what I love about this type of interview is everyone surprises me every time.
Was the project inspired by or influenced by something you've seen, like some other film or video series that you've seen?
That's a great question. I'm gonna say something very controversial. Being a videographer, I don't watch a lot of movies. I don't watch a lot of series. Why? Because for me, my head, when I start watching a series that I like, I have to watch the whole series in one go. I cannot wait. So if I see that a series has like 30 or 60 episodes, I'm like, hell no, I'm not going to start because I'm not going to stop. But I do watch a lot of YouTube videos. I do watch a lot of videographers and filmmakers on YouTube as well. And what I really focus on my color grading, for instance, is that it's very vintage. That's my style. I like low saturation, low contrast, a bit washed out, very warm. I like warm colors. And but really being inspired by someone, maybe if I have to say someone, it's Valandis. Valandis. I don't know how I say his name, but it's on YouTube. He's a filmmaker on YouTube. And he also has like the grainy vintage style that I really love. So that inspired me a lot. But really being inspired of the format or the way I'm filming, I don't really have that. I think it's maybe unconsciously, yeah, by watching a lot of videos that I know, okay, that's something I like. I will keep it in mind.
Just jumping back to music for a second. As a musician, are you concerned ever that if you listen to someone else's music, you're just going to end up copying what they do?
Honestly, I was never afraid of that because for me, my motto in my head was, if I like it, that's good. So I never tried to copy, obviously, when I was 12. Obviously, I mean, I used loops and you just try to remake a song, you know. But as a music maker, I just, like, for instance, let me give you an example. The last couple of years, I've been making a lot of UK garage and dubstep. I almost never listen to UK garage or dubstep. I know it's weird, obviously, but I was like, yo, I'm doing this for hours daily. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna listen to it in my free time. You know, so I think I know it's very it could sound controversial, but I never listened to the genres that I produced.
Mm.
I always got inspired. Like, for instance, I grew up listening to Coldplay and Destiny's Child, and that's where I got my inspirations from. It's really weird, but I heard like some special sounds, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna incorporate it, and so I never listened to the genre that I'm making.
Okay. Oh, I find that fascinating because garage, dubstep, arguably quite rhythmic and bass heavy.
Yeah.
And when I think of Coldplay, and you have to forgive me because I'm quite old, and I remember when Coldplay first appeared, and
Yeah.
I really liked early Coldplay.
Yeah. I'm also talking about early Coldplay, not the newer stuff.
Very melodic, like really, so that's why I find it fascinating that you, in terms of what you were making, was completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The like in the younger, like in my first couple of years, I did a lot of melodic stuff. But then lately, I changed that because I'm also a DJ, and I always wanted to play my tracks in clubs. But I mean, if you're going to make emotional, melodic stuff, no one's going to dance on that, you know? So I was like, yo, maybe I should do harder stuff so that I can play my songs in the clubs. And that's basically why I did the shift.
Yeah. Okay. Back to the writer project. Otherwise, I'll talk about music all night. So the films are all short, and you may have already partially answered this question, but I still want to ask it. What made you create a series of short films as opposed to, for example, maybe making one-off documentary, feature-length documentary that had multiple voices in it?
That's a great question, because I did think about, like, after the first season of the Writer Project, creating a bigger and longer video about it. But I think why I do one person each episode is to really give them all the attention. And why it's so short is, like I said, if it's a 20 minutes video about a random person that you don't know, I mean, I'm not going to watch it. So I'm not going to make it, you know. But that's a great question. And by making this passion project, I really do feel the urge of making longer documentaries. That's something I really want to do. And I'm actually talking with a motorcycle guy that I cannot say more about it, but I think I will be making a long documentary about him and his motorcycle history. And so that's something I really want to do.
Awesome. And when you're thinking about a longer format, do you think that you may need to bring other elements into a longer piece? Narration, for example? Or have you not even thought at that level yet, the form, the sort of the structure of a longer piece?
I haven't thought about it yet, but I do think I'm pretty convinced that I want the person talking, like the person I'm filming. Because for me, it's like the documentary is about the person. So I want the person to be full in it. So also talking and stuff. Yeah.
And I mean, I've done some narrative pieces with audio, which is a completely different approach to like this kind of interview.
Yeah.
And I found that I needed to move to paper. I needed to actually structure things in the written format before I did any audio editing. Would that be a challenge for you in terms of, you know, you're doing a 20-minute interview to create 2-3 minute long short film at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can hold in your head.
Yeah.
But moving to a longer piece, say 60 minutes, 90 minutes long documentary, I know that the first thing that occurs to me when to think about a longer form piece is, okay, I need to move to a completely different information management system because I can not simply hold all of that in my brain.
Yeah.
Is that something that you're already thinking about?
Yes and no. But now that you mention it, like, for instance, even with the Writer Project, when I start a project, the first thing I do is make a shot list. I use the website called Milanote, and a lot of filmmakers use it. You can make shot lists, you can make a calendar, you can make like anything. That's where I make my shot list based on, like, inspired by the shots itself, inspired by the colors. And then I work around that. Then I start asking the questions like, okay, what do I want to know about this person? What do I want to show in the video about this person? And then I start writing questions. But like, I've never made a 60-minute documentary, you know? So it's a big challenge for me, but I really want to do it so badly. So I think I will have to watch a couple of tutorials on YouTube about that. But I always start with a shot list because I'm someone that is very visual. Like you're talking about pen and paper, I could never, because I have to visualize everything that I'm doing. That's why, like, when I was younger, I could never study because it was books, it was written, it was boring. And the studies that I did for videography everything was on YouTube because I had visuals. And for me, visuals are very important.
How old were you when you worked out that you were that kind of visual learner? Because I imagine going through a fairly traditional education system, there was probably a bit of friction because you weren't so comfortable doing that. But at what age were you able to work out, oh, actually, I'm not dumb, I'm not stupid, I just learn in a different way and I really enjoy learning, like in this, as you say, this very visual way. I hope that was at a fairly young age and not something that you had to struggle through too long with.
I think it's not really like I was horrible at school. So I knew that I hated studying. I just knew that. But I think it came gradually. I didn't really have a moment like, oh, I'm not stupid. I just learn different. But I think it's more after school, like when I was 18 or 19. I've always watched a lot of videos, always. What I do a lot also is watch gameplay videos because I'm a gamer, but I don't find the time to game anymore. So I just watch people gaming on YouTube. So
I'm laughing with you. I'm not laughing at you.
No, I know. So I think it came gradually after school. Yeah.
Okay. The films, the 5 films, and I know by the time this comes out, there should be a couple more out, but let's just talk about those first 5 films. So they all follow a clear format, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
But I just want to ask a little bit more about why is it important for you to follow that format in each film? There are what I would say signature Elisabeth traits to all the films.
Mm-hmm.
For example, whenever we see imagery of the bike or the rider getting ready, maybe putting on a helmet, that's all done in a 16:9 aspect ratio.
Yeah.
But when you have them speaking to the camera, suddenly we're in ultra wide 2.39 or 2.4 to 1. So that's a stylistic decision.
Yeah.
But it's also consistent throughout the films. And maybe people don't think about that consciously, but subconsciously it's sending an image, and you get used to we all get used to patterns and formats and things. That's how humans work, right? So that's where I'm coming from.
Well, I think that's my first answer. Like, human beings like patterns. I also like patterns. So, and I think also, like you said, the wide view is actually filmed with an anamorphic lens, and the 16:9s is just with a normal lens. I only use 2 lenses. I use a Blazar Remus M 35mm. That's my anamorphic. And for the other one is the Panasonic Lumix 50mm prime lens. Also, like you said, I like patterns, and visually it always has to be the same, kinda. And why I used that particular anamorphic lens, I really thought it had a lot of character. Like, it's in the small details, but if you look at the pictures, if you look at the sides, you see that it's a bit like the colors aren't perfect. It's a bit like, how do you say it?
A bit distorted?
Yeah, it's distorted, it's curved. And I really like that character. That's why I wanted that lens. But I was like, with the black bars, I think it's very heavy for the eyes if it would always be like that. So that's why I use the prime lens when I'm doing the detail shots. And the detail shots are always in slow motion. Like, the main project is in 25 frames a second, but the detail shots I do in 50 frames a second, so I can slow it down for the final result.
Right. And I'm just trying to remember now, when you're doing those prime lens shots of the bike or whatever, do you tend to favor a narrow depth of field, or what's your preference?
Well, I always my aperture is always 1.8. That's like, so it's very blurry, like we call it bokeh in the background. that's my go-to. I never change that. Never.
And so you just compensate with a neutral density filter or something like that, because you're obviously wanting to maintain a certain either the 25 or the 50 frames per second. So do you then control using an ND filter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have an ND filter for my anamorphic lens, because anamorphic at 1.8 aperture, it's like super bright. And I always try to shoot in sunlight, because sunlight gives warmth. Like my last episode, episode 5, we did when it was cloudy and it's bothering me so much. I'm very very picky. Like a couple of days ago, I filmed another one, and she was like, "Oh, can we do it on this wall against this wall?" I'm like, "The wall is great, but there is no sun, so we're not gonna do it at that wall. We're gonna do it at the wall in the sun, because the sun gives so much warmth, and the sun gives so much happiness." And the videos, it's about people talking about their bikes, loving their bikes, being proud of their bikes. So that's also what I want to show with the sun.
Okay. You're going to hate me now, because I'm going to say, oh, yeah, I did think there was a slight change of tone color-wise with episode 5.
Yeah, I know.
It's a little bit colder, isn't it? So here's then the question: of those first 5 episodes, what time of year did you shoot them?
I think it's I did them in, I think the last one I did at the end of April, I think, or in May. And the weather in Belgium is almost always shit unless it's summer. So that's why it was a more cloudy. So that's why I tried to, because I'm already panicking, like, oh my God, what am I going to do during winter? So I'm still figuring it out. Like, but I think maybe shoot people in their garage, or that's why I try to film so much during the summer, so that I have a lot of footage for the end of the year. And I'm still figuring out, because like I'm talking in seasons, but I'm like, okay, but when do I stop a season? And what do I do when the season is stopped? Because I don't want to have empty spaces. So those are things I'm still figuring out.
Okay. So most of the 5 episodes we've seen so far, most of those have been shot in summer, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you used any artificial lighting in any of the shots, in any of the films so far? Okay, It's all been external.
Yeah.
Okay. You can do amazing things with lights.
I know. I know. But I try to, especially now in the summer, I try to focus on the sun. And then for like later in the year, I will be using my lights. But I just love the sun so much and how it glows on the footage.
Yeah.
So that's why I try to only use the sun as a light.
There's a couple of other things I've noticed about the format. One of them may be fairly trivial, but one which I think is really important, which is that of the 5 that have been published so far, in 4 of them, your guests speak in their native language, their mother tongue.
Yeah.
And one of them, I presume, because she's also from Belgium, she chooses to speak in English.
Yeah.
I have talked about this topic with previous guests, and I'm really interested to hear whether you had any sort of discussion with your guests about that. How big an issue was it that you got your guests to speak in their mother tongue?
So for me, the thing is, I speak perfectly French, I speak perfectly Dutch, and I speak English. So for
pretty good
me,
English, I would say.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to say perfectly English, but I can't fault it so far.
Thank you. So these are the 3 languages that I use in the format. For me, it's important that the person talking is talking in their native language, because I want to show people that the Rider project is international and it's for everyone. So I'm still figuring out, because I have a lot of friends in Portugal. They have amazing bikes and I would love to interview them, and I would love to interview them in their native language. So I'm still figuring out, like, should I get an interpreter with me? Should I try to use AI to translate? So that's something that I'm still figuring out. And also, like, people feel more comfortable in their native language. And that's, for me, like I said in the beginning, the most important thing for me is that the person is themselves and that they feel comfortable. But it's something that I always ask beforehand. Just before we start the interview, I'm like, do you want to talk in English? Do you want to talk in Dutch? Do you want to talk in French? You choose, because I always put English subtitles. And then most of them are like, oh, is it okay if I just do it in Dutch? I'm like, yeah, of course, no problem. But like, indeed, there was this one, a woman, Dauke. She was like, yeah, no, let me help you. I'll do it in English. I can speak English. And I was like, okay, if you want to do it in English, perfect. And also what I want to mention is, like I said, the Rider project for me, I see it as something internationally. So I'm also planning trips to England, for instance, and to the Netherlands, to France, to Germany, because it's the closest from where I live, obviously, right now. But I really want to do those trips to also bring people from other countries into the project, because for me, it's internationally. Like, the love for motorcycles is worldwide.
Mm. The third thing about the format, the form of the films, and it's a fairly small one, but it's kind of a cute one. So the last scene of each film, you get your guest to hold up what looks like to me a black and white Polaroid photo. Do you know what a Polaroid is? An instant printed. I don't know what young people use as terminology.
Of course I know what Polaroid is.
Okay. But so they always hold up a Polaroid, I think it's black and white, or it's completely faded out or whatever, but it's black and white Polaroid of themselves alongside their bike. So what inspired that?
I think for me, it's giving back to the person, because they are so sweet. They are not difficult. They're like, yeah, let me do it. And I always thought, like, yeah, at the end, I want to give something back. So I always make a Polaroid picture and I'm like, the picture is for you. That's how I want to end the video. I also give stickers from the Rider project. I also give like a lucky charm for their bikes. So for me, it's like the whole package. And it's always been appreciated, what I really like. But for me, it's just giving something back to the person and a memory of what they did.
So I think that leads on quite nicely to my next question, which is, how have you found your subjects for each of the films that you've released?
I'm just looking on Instagram. A couple of them are friends from each other. Because like every time I interview someone, I'm like, hey, if you have friends or family or whatever that you think would fit the format, please do let me know. I will contact them. Or every time someone follows me on Instagram, I look at the profile. That's also how I got a couple of them. There was this girl that just liked one of my videos. And I saw on her profile picture that she had a bike. And I was like, yo, she looks cool. So I went to her profile. I looked at her pictures and I texted her. I sent her a message. And we did record an episode of the Rider Project. So I just look on Instagram, honestly.
Do you foresee it becoming easier or more difficult to keep finding new riders in the future?
I think it's going to stay easy because there are a lot of cool people in the world. I'm also making lists of like when I'm going to go to England, like London specifically. I'm making a list of people that I'm going to contact. Like, hey, I will be in London on those dates. Would you like to do an interview? I'm making a list of almost every country, to be honest. So no, I don't think it's going to be difficult. I do think it's hard for me to describe the kind of people that I look for because I never know their stories, But for me, it's more a gut feeling. Like whenever I see their Instagram or their bikes, I have this gut feeling of like, hey, this person may have something interesting to tell, you know? But the thing is, everyone has something interesting to tell.
Are you targeting a certain profile of rider, or are you thinking there's a whole lot of different type of riders out there? Adventure riders,
Yeah.
cafe racer riders, sport bike riders, custom rebuild kind of
Yeah.
riders. Are you targeting all of them, and do you feel an obligation to cover the whole motorcycling community, or are you not putting that pressure on yourself and you're going, look, if I did that, that would be exhausting. I'm just going to go after the things that excite me, that trigger that interest that you just talked about
Yeah.
when I see it on Instagram.
That's the thing. Anything that excites me or triggers me, if it's like I do tend to go to older bikes. Like I know everyone has something interesting to tell, but I don't know if it's going to be interesting for me. And I know that people with older bikes, they always have a story. Even if like, oh, it was the bike of my dad or na. For me, that's super interesting. But like the last episode is a very, very modern bike, but I know her personally and she did rebuild her bike. Like it's not a standard bike, and for me, that's also the thing. Like I love all bikes. Like in the beginning, I said I want 20 bikes in my garage. There's going to be like the BMW electric scooter there. There's going to be Yamaha Tenere, so an adventure bike. There's going to be a Honda CBR 600RR, a sports bike. I love all bikes. I really don't like, you have, oh, I'm a Harley rider. Oh, I'm a Yamaha rider. I just love all bikes. Like, I also want a Honda Spacey, those old scooters, like a 250cc. Like, I want it all. So, with people and their bikes, it's the same. I want to have it visually interesting as well. So that's why if you have a modern Yamaha Tenere, but you did customize it, then I would say, yes, that's interesting. That's something that's visually interesting. And what I say with interesting is I just think about myself, not being egotistically or whatever, but if it's interesting for me, I'm going to shoot it. Because at the end of the day, or like at the beginning of the project, I'm doing this project for myself, but I'm so happy that people really like it. It's getting like a lot of positive reactions. So it's so nice. But the people that are coming on in the documentary, those are people that I found interesting. I'm not gonna feel the pressure of like, oh, this model of bike is very in right now, or oh, this person is very in. I should text them, or no, that's not how it works in my brain. No.
Yeah, well, that makes sense to me. I mean, as you say, it's a passion project. You don't have to answer to anyone else. No. And for passion projects, it's really important that the passion's there driving the motivation to do all of this, for sure.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest challenge so far? It almost sounds like you've had no challenges, but apart from the light maybe fading in winter.
It's a challenge every day. Like y'all just see the end result, but I do everything on my own. So I think the biggest challenge is that it's weekly.
Mm-hmm.
And people may forget, but I also have a day job. Like I'm a full-time videographer and audio engineer. So that's also, it's not like I'm doing it 24/7, So it's like every time I have some time or whatever, the writer project, So every week is a challenge because it's also a dedication for me for like, you're going to release every week. And in the beginning, I was like, I had 3 episodes ready from the start. So I was like, oh, okay, I have 3 weeks time. But now I'm so busy. Like the episode, I'm going to be real with you. The episode of Sunday now, I just edited today. I just, and it's very easy for me workflow wise because I know what I'm doing. And like the concept of having the same 5 questions, I can like structure it easier. And like I've done, I think, a dozen of edits now, so I know what I'm doing. So it doesn't take like, I think the first episode took 5 hours to make, 5 hours for 2 minutes. But that's because I had to start from the beginning, And now I think I can maybe do an episode, like a YouTube episode, because I also have to put it vertically for Instagram, reframe it and such. I think 2 or 3 hours an episode.
Okay.
But I like challenges. I mean, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't do it. The thing that's nice with it is it's a lot of pressure for myself and it's a big challenge, but I love it so much. It's so much fun. Like I said, it's so important to do something just for fun, for yourself.
So you mentioned seasons or doing a season. You're releasing weekly at the moment, but are you going to give yourself a break to recharge, maybe to wait for the sun to come out again, and then do another batch of episodes? What's the plan at the moment?
Unfortunately, I'm someone that never takes a break. If I'm not working in my brain, I see it as a waste of time. It's very difficult living with myself. So I don't think about a break just yet, but I just know that in the winter, I'm not going to film. No one's going to ride in the winter. Just the diehard people with their BMW GS, but most of the people are going to stop riding like in October latest. So I'm a bit afraid of taking a break because anticipation is very important on social media because I do want to grow the channel more. That's also a passion of mine, like that people hear it. But I mean, problems for later. I don't think about it just yet.
Okay, so we've talked about getting into filming, the Rider project, but now I have to ask you about your motorcycles because I know, because we had a little chat yesterday, that you've got 3 motorcycles.
Yeah.
So maybe start by telling me, how did you get into motorcycling?
That's a great question because I don't know myself. I think when I was 18, I was looking at bikes and was suddenly thinking, whoa, that's cool. Or no, I was 16. I was 16 because I wanted a scooter, but I was not allowed by my parents. I couldn't have a scooter. So I kept looking at scooters and and my dad was like, okay, when you graduate and you have good points, you're gonna get a scooter. But as you know, I was very bad at studying. So as I graduated with bad points, but I only showed the good points to my dad. He knows now. He knows now. It's not gonna be a surprise. And then I got a scooter. So, and then I don't know. I like the scooter that I took was a Kimco PW50. So it didn't look like a scooter. It looks like a motorcycle, a small motorcycle. So that's how, I don't know, that's how I got into it. And then when I was 21, I got my motorcycle license, the smaller one. We have it in steps. And the bigger one you can only have when you're 24 years old. But I didn't want to wait 3 years. So I was like, no, I'm going to do the exam and stuff. So when I was 21, I got a BMW G310R, a small one. After 1 year, I was like, yo, this is not fast enough. So I got a Yamaha XSR 700 for my license category. It's going to sound crazy, but I've had 8 bikes in 7 years. I And because, I want my garage with 20 bikes, but financially right now, I cannot keep 20 bikes. So every time I wanted a new bike, I had to sell my other bike. So now that I have 3 bikes, I'm going to sell one bike because I just bought a car and I have to be financially mature and think about, all the costs. But lately I got really into older bikes. So one of my bikes right now is a Yamaha XT 350 from 1990. So the bike is older than me. And it's kickstart only, which is pardon my language, which is a bitch to start sometimes. Sometimes it just doesn't want to start, But when I bought that bike, for me, it was important that I could work on the bike. So again, I went on YouTube, looked up a lot of tutorials, and now I cleaned the carburetor myself. I did the oil. I did all how do you say bougie? The spark plugs, like all of those things, I do myself because I think it's important. And yeah, that was not your question. I'm talking about my recent bikes, but
it's okay, because I basically asked you how you got into motorcycling, which is a pretty open-ended question, and I think you are going to tell me all the bikes that you currently have. I think we're getting round to that, aren't we?
Yeah. So yeah, I have the Yamaha XT. Then I also have a Yamaha XSR 900, which is a rocket. It's my dream bike, but that's the one that I'm gonna sell. And people are like, "Whoa, why are you gonna sell your dream bike?" At the end of the day, I'm like, I've had it for 2 years. I was very happy. I've had it. It's still my dream bike, but like I said, I have to be financially smart right now, and I can still buy it again later. It's weird for me to say, but I'm not emotionally attached to a certain bike. I'm just emotionally attached to the idea of motorcycles. So I can sell a bike and get another one. For me, it's just about riding. And then I also have a Royal Enfield Himalayan 411, the older one, that I'm turning into a flat tracker because I also flat track.
Aha.
But that's a build project for next year that I also gonna record and put online. Being a videographer, obviously, I have to do that. I feel like I have to do that. So that's for next year. And then next year, I also want to buy a Harley Davidson and build a chopper. So I know it's a lot. Yeah.
My friends at the Trail and Adventure Motorbike podcast often ask their guests whether they name their bikes. And I don't think I've asked anyone else on the podcast who've come on, but the only reason I asked this is because you talked about not having an emotional connection to individual bikes.
Oh, but I do name my bikes, of course. I even named my car. So, yeah,
okay.
I do that. I think it's weird if you don't name your bike. Oh. That's just rude. But everyone that I know, no, I've had people, but it's one of the first questions that I ask. Oh, that's a great I should ask that question during the rider project. The name of their bikes. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm gonna keep that in mind.
Okay, well, we'll look out for that in future iterations. Okay. So you're living in Ghent. I think I went to Ghent once on my bike when I was too scared to go anywhere where there were curves, when I was just getting to know my bike. But where do you like to ride? What's your favorite part of either Belgium or Europe? Nowhere in Belgium, because we have a lot of nice roads here, but a lot of the roads are shit. They have potholes? Yeah, a lot of potholes. I like to ride in France. The Netherlands is nice as well. The Netherlands is more straight, but it's very open. So you can see you have a lot of view. I really liked riding to London. London itself, I didn't like, but going to London. So from Dover to London,
It's like very small passages and you can go pretty fast. You can go like 80, no, wait.
Yeah, 80 kilometers per
Yeah.
hour, 50 miles per hour,
Yeah.
basically.
You
Yeah,
can't do that here on small roads.
yeah.
And it was a lot of trees growing and it was very cozy. Germany, I like as well. I think every country has their stuff.
Yeah,
Has
sure.
their, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I went to Italy with my bike. Amazing.
Yep.
So beautiful. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, and I also rode in LA with a Harley Davidson. That was really nice as well. But yeah, I mean, America, it's always straight roads. But it was nice. It's a vibe. It's a vibe.
Sure. Okay. I think we're on the home straight. So I've just got a couple of final questions.
Yeah.
And you may have partially already answered the first one, but I'm still going to ask it again.
Yeah.
Which is, with regards to your own filmmaking, who have you taken inspiration from? Who would you recommend others to watch?
Well, it has nothing to do with motorcycles, but I would say Volandis. Like I said, Volandes. It's Vuhlandes, Volandis. Because he has a lot of talent and he did everything on his own. He's very inspiring as well. It's maybe a bit random, but like 2 years ago, he got cancer and he's like my age. And he documented that in a very cinematic way. And I thought that was beautiful. And I'm actually also doing it right now because unfortunately my mother has cancer. She has breast cancer. And I'm also working on a video cinematically, not a documentary, but like a monologue of me talking. And it's a video for my mom, about my mom, but it's from a point of view of someone living with someone with cancer. So that's coming up also. I don't know when it's going to come out because I'm still filming.
Whereabouts would you release that? Would that come under the Writer Project is obviously a very specific YouTube channel. Would you release it?
Yeah, no, I have another Instagram page and it's where I put most of my other stuff. It's LN2 Visuals.
Right.
That's, it's also very, most of the things there are motorcycle related, but yeah, it's going to come there. And something that has inspired me a lot, colors wise, like color grading wise, because I love to color grade. Like I'm no expert at it, but I think it's amazing. Something that has inspired me a lot is the Fallout series on Prime. It's very warm, especially it's season 2. There's like just one scene with Walton Goggins and then another actor that I forgot his name, where they're inside in some kind of church and just the colors and the lighting. And I was so inspired. I took a screenshot of the time code so that I can rewatch it repeatedly. And I think those colors were one of the colors that inspired the Writer Project as well. Like very warm, very yellowish, very, I just remember like when I'm talking about it right now, I'm like, it's amazing. So those are 2 things that inspire me a lot.
Okay. My final question, I don't know if it's going to apply to you. We'll soon find out. But I always like to ask whether the filming enhances or diminishes the pleasure of a motorcycle ride for you. That implies that you film when you ride, and I don't actually know if you ever do film when you ride. Is that something that you've done?
No, because yeah, I do still see filming as more like work related. And when I'm on my bike, I don't want to work. It's like my escape moment, where I don't think about anything. So no, I don't film when I'm riding. For me, riding, it's just me, myself, and I with the bike and just peaceful in my head.
Do you listen to music when you ride or anything else?
Yeah. Always. My bike is super loud, so it's very annoying. So I always have in-ears and always listen to music. I listen to a lot of old school hip hop. I always do. So that's what I listen to most of the time on my bike. But when I'm tired and it's late at night, I listen to drum and bass because it's very energetic, and then I sing with it. And not that I'm going to fall asleep on my bike, but just like, the vibe of being awake and staying awake. Yeah.
Thanks so much for being my guest today, Elisabeth. Now's your chance to tell folk where they can find and follow you online.
First and foremost, I would like for them to follow the Rider Project because it's the most important thing right now for me as a filmmaker. So you can find it on YouTube. Just look up the Rider Project. And then on Instagram, it's called therider.project. Those are the two main accounts where the videos are being released. And then if you just want to see what I normally do besides the Rider Project, you can find me on Instagram at LN2Visuals. And that's it. Thank you for having me.
Super. I'll make sure I put all the links in the show notes, of course, so people can easily find those.
Perfect.
Thanks again for being here today. Take care and ride safe.
Thank you.